Hello, Silicon Valley, and welcome to the first video I'm recording in 2026 just for seasoned homeowners like you. I'm going to start out by taking a look back, way back at 2025 and see how the market performed overall for the year. And then I'm going to look into the crystal ball and tell you what to expect for 2026. Now, the good news for homeowners in the Bay Area is that after all the tumult, your house is still really, really expensive. In fact, 2025 was basically Silicon Valley doing what it always does, refusing to panic, refusing to bargain, and refusing under any circumstances to become affordable. Now, let's start with the headline numbers. The average of the monthly median sale prices in 2025 came in around $1.93 million. That's up about 4% from 2024's $1.86 million. Now, price per square foot, basically flat, up about 1% year over year. Now, translation, values moved higher, but not in that chaotic caffeine-fueled way we've seen in many years of the recent past. In fact, adjusting for inflation, real home prices are down. But yeah, who's counting? So, if 2022 felt like the market was shot out of a cannon, 2025 was more like a brisk walk. Still moving and still expensive, but nowhere near as aggressive as what we've seen in recent years gone by. Now, here's where the story gets more interesting, especially if you're a long-time homeowner thinking, do I actually want to keep maintaining this place until I'm 97, or do I want my weekends back for the next few decades? In 2025, we had more new listings than in 2024, but we had fewer closed sales, down roughly 4%. Now, that's a subtle shift, but it matters. It pushed the average months of inventory up from about 1.15 months in 2024 to 1.40 months in 2025. And before anyone freaks out, let me translate that into normal human language. That's still a really, really low amount of inventory, definitely way into seller market territory. But it's not quite as tight as 2024. Buyers had a little more choice, and when buyers have a little more choice, they start doing something really annoying. They start thinking, and they even start pulling their punches. And you can see that shift in the stat I call how juiced is the market number, sale to list price ratio. In 2024, the average was about 105.9%, meaning homes were regularly selling above list price, sometimes by amounts that made sellers feel like geniuses and buyers feel like they needed to go lie down in a dark room. In 2025, however, that cooled to about 103.8%, still comfortably above list price and still pretty competitive, but nowhere near as crazy as in 2020 through 2022. So if you're a homeowner, especially a long-time homeowner, 2025 was a good year. But it was also a year that rewarded the basics more than we've seen in a while. Price it right, present it cleanly, and make it easy for the right buyer to say yes and beat out all those other right buyers. The market was still strong, but it wasn't giving out participation trophies for being overpriced like maybe it did back in the good old days. And now let's take out the old crystal ball and see what 2026 is likely to bring to California and the Bay Area real estate markets. You know, every year, the good people at the California Association of Realtors come out with their housing market forecast, and it's as good as any out there, and in fact, better than most. So here is what I've gleaned from reading their forecast. In short, the California Association of Realtors figures that in 2026, California housing isn't staging a comeback tour, but it's definitely not collapsing. It's the market doing what it rarely does here. It's moving forward calmly without yelling and frothing at the mouth. Start with home sales. In 2025, California sold about 269,000 existing single family homes. In 2026, sales are projected to rise to around 274,400 homes. That's roughly a 2% increase. Now, that's not dramatic, but it is noticeable. Now, because prices never miss an opportunity to be discussed, at least not when I'm talking. The median home price in 2025 landed around $873,900, up only about 1% from the year before. In 2026, that number is expected to climb to about $905,000, a roughly 3.6% increase. So, yes, prices are expected to go up, but they're doing it rather demurely. Just a steady climb that makes you nod slowly and mutter, "Of course it is." Now, affordability, everyone's favorite punchline, also changes, and technically for the better, even though prices are rising. In 2025, about 17% of California households could afford the median priced home. In 2026, that number is expected to inch up to about 18%. Now, that is hardly a revolution, and is mostly due, I think, to tempered mortgage interest rates. Put it all together, and the story is pretty clear. Compared to 2025, 2026 should bring slightly more sales, moderately higher prices, and a tiny improvement in affordability. No fireworks, no panic, just a modest rebound that suggests the market is breathing again instead of choking. But of course, it seems like every year in Silicon Valley begins with the same question. Is this finally the year the whole market comes crashing down? Now, who knows, but probably not. But if it does, I'd guess it would be because of one of these three things. Number one, the AI bubble bursts or even just gets a little deflated. Now, this is the obvious one. Silicon Valley real estate is attached by an invisible cord to tech compensation. If AI stocks wobble, funding tightens, IPO dreams get postponed, and hiring slows, demand doesn't vanish overnight, but it changes. Buyers get cautious. They stop throwing around seven-figure down payments like it's monopoly money. And the "I'll just stretch a little" mentality becomes "I'll wait and see." A true AI pullback would be a confidence hit, and confidence is a huge part of what drives discretionary moves, especially at the higher end of the market, which has seen some really great days in 2025. Now, the second thing that could happen is that mortgage rates could pop back up again. Rates don't need to go to 9% to change consumer behavior. Even a move from the low sixes back toward the high sixes or even the low sevens could shrink the buyer pool fast because the monthly payment is the real gatekeeper today. When rates rise, buyers don't just buy less house, they negotiate harder, they hesitate more, and they suddenly become experts in everything that's wrong with your home. That affects how quickly homes sell, how aggressive offers are, and how much above list energy that you see. And the third thing out there I see, which could really be a damper on the party, is a broader stock market correction or a recession scare. Now, even if AI doesn't implode specifically, a bigger market pullback, stocks down, layoffs up, economic uncertainty, can cool demand in a hurry here. In Silicon Valley, a ton of buyers, are funding down payments with stock bonuses and RSUs. When portfolios take a hit, people don't always cancel their move, but they downgrade it, or delay it, or decide to rent for a year, or they stay put and tell themselves they actually love their staircase in their little townhouse. So those are the big three: AI deflates, rates rise, or the broader market wobbles. None of these things are all that likely to happen. If I had to guess, none of them will. But they are the risks that would matter most here because this isn't a market driven by starter homes alone, actually, hardly at all. It's a market driven by high earners, liquidity, and confidence. So, what should prospective sellers do with all that juicy information? Well, here's my opinion, said with love and just a tiny little bit of urgency. If you're planning a move at any point in 2026, maybe you're downsizing or relocating, moving closer to be with family, get a new grandkid on the way, or you just want to simplify your life, I'd rather see you sell earlier in the year than later. Now, why is that? Well, it's not just because they want to sell more houses. It's because right now we have a combination sellers rarely appreciate until it's gone. Rates are not low, but they are lower than they could be, especially later in the year, because we know what we have right now. What's going to happen 2, 3, 4 months from now? Nobody knows. Inventory is still relatively tight right now, and it is unclear just exactly what will happen with inventory right now. But right now, there's very little on the market, very little competition for sellers. But also, right now, buyers are still showing up. We had a very healthy November and December here in the Bay Area, and we are expecting that to continue in the early part of the year, especially for homes that are priced correctly. Now, I'll tell you a secret: buyers don't become hungry when the market is scary. Buyers become hungry when they think they're going to miss out, when they get that FOMO, fear of missing out, and when they feel like the market is stable enough to make a confident decision. Early year markets often come with that energy. There's fresh motivation. There's less competition, a lot less competition from other listings. And you tend to catch buyers who've been waiting for the right moment and finally decide, now that the holidays are behind us, okay, we're doing this. Later in the year, especially if any of those risks show up or even look like they might be showing up, it can be an entirely different vibe, especially in late spring and over the summer. Buyers get cautious, they get busy, they get distracted, they start asking for concessions, they start writing offers that include, God forbid, contingencies or that emergency exit clause that lets them cancel their contract and leave you high and dry, and with a devalued house you still need to sell. So, if you're a longtime homeowner thinking about selling, my advice is not rush. My advice is plan. Plan your next step. Plan your tax strategy. Plan what to do with all your stuff. And then, when you're ready, launch when the market is still leaning your way. Because the Bay Area market doesn't usually collapse like a Jenga tower. It shifts, it cools, it gets picky, and sellers who wait too long often end up competing in a market where buyers have the advantage, not because the home is bad, but because the timing has changed. Now, 2025 overall was in fact a strong year with a little more balance than we've seen in the recent past. 2026 could be pretty solid too. But if you're thinking about selling, you don't want to be the person who lists after that mood changes and says, wow, where did all the buyers go? The buyers are here right now. They're active, they're watching, and the right plan, especially early in the year, can turn someday into a smooth move with a lot less stress and a lot more money left over for the part you actually care about, your next chapter. If you're looking to make a move in 2026, this is the time to put the wheels into motion, even if they're only spinning very slowly at first. Give me a call at 408-596-1623. Yes, that is my cell phone. I'll be happy to chat with you and help you strategize about how to make your next move the best one yet.